Robotaxi, the woman it dragged, and the video that never made it to regulators. This one has 2 crimes in it, and only the first one was committed by the software. October 2023, San Francisco, just after 9:30 at night. A pedestrian is struck by a hit-and-run driver and thrown into the path of a self-driving taxi, one of General Motors' cruise vehicles operating with nobody behind the wheel. The taxi detects the collision and does what it was built to do in that situation: pull over. Except the woman is underneath it. The vehicle drags her roughly 20 feet at about 7 miles an hour before it finally stops. I want to be precise about what the software actually did wrong here because it matters for what comes next. Car's collision response was built around the assumption that stopping and pulling to the side is always the safest available action. Nobody had adequately engineered for the specific, grim edge case of a person being underneath the vehicle at the exact moment that response triggers. That's a real design failure, a serious one, and if the story stopped there, it would already be worth an entire video on its own. It doesn't stop there. This is where the second crime starts, and it isn't a coding error. California's Department of Motor Vehicles requested Cruise's footage of the incident. What they reportedly received didn't include the full picture, specifically the portion showing the vehicle dragging the pedestrian after the initial impact. The DMV didn't learn about that part from Cruise at all. They learned it from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, a separate federal agency running its own investigation in parallel. Think about what that actually means. Regulator responsible for deciding whether these vehicles are safe enough to keep operating on public streets was, according to the DMV's own findings, not given the full story by the company being regulated and had to find out the rest of it from someone else's paperwork. California's response was immediate and total. The DMV suspended Cruise's entire deployment and testing permit on the spot, stating plainly that the company had misrepresented the safety of its robotaxis. Cruise was later fined $1.5 million in connection with the incident. The company's driverless operations in the city effectively ended. Here's why I'm spending as much time on the paperwork as I am on the crash itself. A single vehicle failing to handle a genuinely difficult edge case is a technology problem, the kind every company deploying autonomous systems is going to run into sooner or later. And honestly, the response to that alone should be extensive testing, transparency, and a hard look at the collision response logic. That's fixable. That's the normal, if serious cost of building genuinely new technology. Withholding the specific piece of footage that makes the incident look worse from the exact regulator whose entire job is deciding whether your product stays on the road is not a technology problem. That's a choice made by people after the crash had already happened, when the honest option and the convenient option had already split apart and somebody picked convenient. This is the pattern that should worry you far more than any single autonomous vehicle malfunction. Not that the machine failed under genuine pressure, which machines eventually do, but that the human supervising it, when given a choice between full disclosure and a smaller story, chose the smaller story in writing to a government safety regulator about a woman who nearly died under one of their own vehicles. This is precisely what Annex A Control 8 exists to prevent: information for interested parties of artificial intelligence systems. It covers what you owe the people outside your building, regulators, the public, anyone with a legitimate stake in whether your system is safe, and that includes communicating incidents honestly and completely, not just eventually. It does not say, send the flattering 90% of the footage. The Standard's entire theory of the case is that trust in these systems depends on organizations telling the truth about them when it's uncomfortable, not only when it's convenient, and a regulator having to go around you to a different federal agency to learn what actually happened is that control failing about as completely as it's possible to fail it. So here's the dare. Next time a company tells you their new system had an isolated incident, ask the second question. The one regulators in this story had to go around the company entirely to get answered, isolated according to whom, and did anyone check the footage they didn't send you?